Yeah, thank you so much, Brian.
Of course, Abehi.
Okay, so here we go. First off, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day just to answer a few questions about, resumes, especially considering everything that's going on with COVID and job insecurity right now. And that brings me to my first question, which is based on everything that's been happening in the world. I'm sure everything has been really hectic in the recruiting space,
Hmm.
especially at like big tech companies. And I was wondering if there have been any bright spots that you've seen in the past year or so that make you, hopeful for the future and where 2021 can take us.
Yeah, you sort of cut off in the last part, but from what I got is any bright spots that make us hopeful, even with this pandemic going around, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, tech is definitely getting decentralized, so that's awesome. Just giving opportunities for anyone basically to join, right? We're working remotely now,
Mm-hmm.
and this is going to be indefinite for at least a couple years, I believe. And
Mm-hmm.
that's changing the landscape of how tech is doing business, which
Mm-hmm.
means there should be more opportunities. I work specifically in cloud and we're growing rather quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
all these companies are innovating and realizing that, hey, we need to innovate to survive and thrive. So
Yeah.
tech is booming right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be that way for, years to come.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And here we're going to just get more in detail and more in depth with that. So this is kind of a three-part question, but I'm wondering during COVID, do you have any advice for current students, new grads, and experienced coders in their job search, especially because headcount is kind of fluctuating right now, and in some companies it might be really sparse, but in others it might be very abundant because of remote work.
Mhm. Yeah, my best tips. I wrote a YouTube. I recorded a YouTube video on this. And
Mhm.
I can link it later. But it's to get experience as fast as you can. Do any projects, any internships, any type of experience that you can put on your resume as well as your LinkedIn profile. Make
Mhm.
sure to display that. Break it down, what you did, go into detail, make yourself searchable. I feel like LinkedIn is going to be a major player, if not already, in finding jobs for candidates that need a career, especially in
Mhm.
tech. So if you know how to leverage LinkedIn as like a social media platform for professionals, you can actually start putting yourself out there and make these connections organically as well. So
Mm.
just learning LinkedIn and how it works and how the organic reach is working via the algorithm is going to be a major key.
Mhm. Thank you for that input. That means a lot too, especially coming from like your background and the experience that you have in being, like an influencer of sorts and having your own channel. So that's really cool. And generally, what do you want to see, or what would you like to see on your ideal, technical resume? What are you looking for as a recruiter that, lets someone move on, to the next level?
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I screen a lot of resumes rather quickly, and honestly, recruiters, well, I guess I'll speak for myself, tend to browse resumes within a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds max. So I like to start off from the bottom and see the career trajectory and progression that you've made. It kind of tells a story, right, of where you've
Mhm.
been and where you're trying to go. And then I'll look at the skill sets that I'm trying to match the job description for, the role I'm trying to fill. So if I'm
Mhm.
looking for someone with JavaScript experience, I'm looking for that keyword plus how many years you've been working with relevant technologies, as well as
Mhm.
if you have any cool projects that you've been working on that may be relevant um, from a post grad standpoint. So it's uh, it's a combination of things, but the more experience that you list for me, I think it's the better your odds are to making it through.
I see. Um, which is really interesting because I was taking a look at your LinkedIn profile, of course, before this interview, and I saw that you had a lot of experience from multiple different sectors in tech, in sales, and being a recruiter, and also being a founder of your own company. And I was wondering, how have those experiences, influenced you as a recruiter now, and what you look for in your ideal candidate?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I know my experience is kind of all over the place if you look at it, but uh, a mentor of mine, Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm not sure if you know him. Gary V.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I follow his content pretty religiously, and initially I was like, "Who is this guy?" Kind of like yelling at me, telling me what to do, and I just kept seeing him, and he really changed my mindset. And over time, I started getting real with myself, and he started getting real with he's been real with his audience, and I realized what he's saying is the truth. So I really absorbed on, like, it's not about the money. It's about like your passion, your drive, and your happiness above all. If you're
Mhm,
okay with, coming home after 9 to 5, watching Netflix, you've won. But
mhm,
if you want more out of life and you're striving for that next level, you have to dedicate your weekends. You have to work that 5 to 2 a.m., that extra,
mhm,
5, 6 hours on your business every single day to build something. So I decided for myself, the 9 to 5 was great for experience, but I wanted something more for myself, and I wanted to build a business for myself. So that's what I did. And long story short, it was my first business and drop shipping car parts that didn't pan
mhm,
out so well because I was a little bit too pretentious. I got complacent, and I overextended myself. But I realized that it wasn't the end. It was just a learning experience, and I wanted to take my game to the next level and realize I got to take it slow. So I wanted to get back into a steady income job, and that's
mhm,
when my friend recommended to me, hey, you don't have to go back to the traditional corporate America. You can take a different route within tech.
mhm,
You're a very techy guy, you like connecting with people, why don't you try tech sales? And I
mhm,
said, "You know what? I guess I have nothing to lose at this hired." And that basically jump started me into my first job into tech, which was for an SDR. And that experience carried over to the next job, which uh, landed me at Uber. And then
mhm,
that uh, job basically landed me to the next career within Uber, where I leveraged my connections to go into recruiting. So it was definitely a shift, but it wasn't. So I would say, definitely do what you're passionate about. Put all that experience where it matters, such as
mhm,
LinkedIn in this case, and gravitate towards what you want to do and make those connections with who you want to make connections with, and just
mhm,
keep doing that and keep putting your best foot forward and providing more value everywhere you go, right? And
mhm.
that'll go far. And that's where I am right now. So really appreciative and just full of gratitude right now.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm wondering, say you come from like a really good school, and there's a whole bunch of other, candidates and people who also come from really good schools and have really diverse backgrounds in terms of experience.
Mhm.
What are the little things on a resume that can help, a candidate stand out and push them forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the competition is scarce. It's very, very competitive. I mean, and ways where you can stand out is just listing the the keywords and the projects that you've been passionate about. Tell that story. Uh, it's great, if you come from the Stanfords, Berkeleys, and whatnots, but sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's being very proactive on LinkedIn and standing out by making sure your messaging is on par with your brand. I think everyone is going to have their own brand in a sense where we become micro influencers, which is what I'm trying to accomplish right now, and hopefully on a macro scale later on. But just making sure that your intentions are on par with what you're saying to the universe, right? So if you really want a job in tech, show it. Like there's things that you can do right now to really stand out, which is posting content on LinkedIn, connecting, asking people questions, just like this. You know, just making sure that you're connecting with the right people that are in the corridor that you want to get into. So yeah, that's my best advice.
I know you can't see my face right now, but I'm nodding. I'm agreeing with you. Um,
Awesome. Yeah.
so yeah, that's really cool. I think that's super important. And for students, you know, there are a lot of people that I know personally who didn't really have maybe the foresight or even the ability to go out and get, you know, experience early on. And it's just now kind of hitting them
Mhm.
that they need this experience to open up doors for them.
Mhm.
And even if they are doing things on LinkedIn, they want to have something, you know, to show for it. So do you have any advice for new
Yeah.
grads
Yeah,
or
it's so,
students like that?
yeah, and it's so available. LinkedIn is a free tool and you literally can connect with anyone. I mean,
Mhm.
you can kind of reach Bill Gates if he's at his computer, right? Like theoretically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. Mhm.
Mhm. Awesome.
Yeah,
Um, cool. So I wanted to kind of get down to we have like a few more questions.
sure.
Um, but I wanted to know that if you had to summarize, what are your top 5 tips to engineers to build a resume that catches your eye as a Google recruiter?
Yeah, top five. Got to think about that one for a second, but
Mhm.
off the top of my head, listing again, like listing the projects that you've worked on and that you're
Mhm.
passionate about, like where you're trying to go as well. List out stacks that you worked with. Are you a front end, back end, full stack developer? What do you like
Mhm.
working with? Working cross functionally with different teams, that's definitely a big plus. Um, having, I think, foundationally, having knowledge of computer science fundamentals, like basic understanding of that, and demonstrating that within um, data structures and algorithm knowledge. I think that's pretty foundational that I've seen over here at Google, at least. Primarily, I was hiring back-end developers, so I think they work heavily on that. But just listing out everything that you can that you've worked with, and
Mhm.
the direction that you want to go. Um, what else? Hmm. I think resumes are great,
Mhm.
but I think now the landscape is changing. So I'm advising everyone that has a resume to upload basically everything onto LinkedIn. Make sure your resume and LinkedIn
Mhm.
are mirrored, because
Mhm.
as a recruiter, when I'm searching for this talent with specific um, skill sets, I'm browsing on LinkedIn. I'm using a search string that basically hones in on some target keywords. And if you don't put that on LinkedIn and it's on your resume, which is on your hard drive, I'm not going to find it. Right. So make yourself searchable and make sure that you're learning how to market yourself and your own brand on LinkedIn, as well as on any other social platform.
Okay.
Okay.
That is awesome. And just one more question. So I know that you have been seen like a technical recruiter at Uber now and Google as well.
Mhm.
And I was wondering, in the experience that you've had in the past like 2 or so years,
Mhm.
um, what is something that's changed? You know, as you've been a recruiter, have you developed your eye in a way?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, you got cut off.
No worries. So has your eye developed as you've been a recruiter now, at two different companies? Have you changed in terms of what you're looking for, or what you see now is a really good, sign of a strong candidate, I guess?
Yeah. So although I've only been in tech for uh, a few years, what I've learned from sourcing at Uber to now in Google is, foundationally speaking, there are some things that you look for within a candidate, but they do change over time based off of what role you're trying to fill. So, with that being said, there was a consider use that's a little different from what Google uses. But so every company has their own secret sauce, and what you have to do as a recruiter is be very analytical in your process and realize what's working and what's not working. And to those engineers as well, I think this can apply to you as well, like A and B test. Figure out quickly what's working within your process, whether if that's solving for the problem or applying for jobs, right? If something that you're doing is not working, you need to change it up. You need to ask for help or mentorship from someone that's already there or doing it. And, I think just being vulnerable for that split second, or even for life, if you can, I know it's definitely hard, is actually strength. That will allow you to go as far as you want to go. If you have that ego in front of you saying that you know everything, that you don't need to ask questions, that you can do this yourself, that's gonna hold you back. And my success was really predicated upon me asking a ton of questions. Why was this candidate successful? Why do you think this person's not going to do too well towards my peers early on at Uber? So I asked a ton of questions early on and throughout my whole career over there, which catapulted me over here at Google. And I continue to ask questions. What was their process like? How can I better improve? How come, I missed the mark right here? And, lo and behold, having that type of mentality is exactly what these big tech companies are looking for. Someone that's eager to learn, coachable, hungry for more, and very analytical in their process. So that's my best tips I can give.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Brian.
Hmm.
Um, okay, well, I think we're good now to kind of close it out. Did you have anything else you wanted to say or ask, um, or are you good to go?
Yeah, no, that was great. That was, I really appreciate the talk that we had. Sorry for the technical difficulties early on.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for working with us. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to reach out again in the future. If we have any more questions, if you're open to it.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Feel free to reach out anytime. I have a lot of resources that I'm working on that I want to share with everyone as well. Okay.
Awesome, that would be great. If you can send those over, I can share them, and Toby and I can look over them, and we can, connect more in the future.
Okay. Perfect. That'd be awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
Obey.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
You. Bye.